there was a Pokemon that had a different evolution for every country in the world. I assembled 20 artists from 20 different countries across the globe and commissioned them to make an evolution for this brand new Pokemon Trekkit, with the only requirements being that they had to base the evolution on something they personally love about the country they call home, and that it had to have an additional form, whether that be a Mega Evolution, a Gigantamax form, or a completely new thing. And they did not disappoint. Just look what happens when Trekkit makes its way into Spain and evolves into Globeral in its Spain form, a fire dark type made by the wonderful Devesa Illustration, who based its fiery demeanor and devilish appearance off the Catalan Devils of Spain's Fire Run Festival, a tradition that features performers dressed up as demons and wielding firework-loaded pitchforks. And this spark for fun is reflected in Globeral, whose stick has turned into a constantly spiraling ember that launches flames in all directions to where no foe could hope to die. And when exposed to a wishing star, it'll transform into Gigantamax Globeral, who's now a giant flame-bellowing demon who turns the temperature near it to such excruciating degrees that trainers who are in command of one are required to wear special clothing to avoid the extreme heat covering its body. And speaking of being covered in heat, today's video is sponsored by Fabletics. Look, I love an outfit that's versatile, and my new clothes from Fabletics Gateway Drop are exactly that. Breathable enough for a morning jog, durable enough for lifting in the gym, and comfy enough to do absolutely nothing at all, my favorite. But what you really need to know about is Fabletics VIP program, because new users who sign up can get up to 80% off their first order. But then as a member, you'll get up to 50% off your orders after that. You also get 1 monthly credit that you can redeem for a 2-piece outfit or any other item up to $100. You get exclusive monthly drops, early access to new styles, VIP only sales, and even free access to the Fabletics Fit app. I mean, what don't you get? It's seriously a crazy deal, especially with summer coming up. So if you're interested at all, make sure to use the link in my description or pinned comment to go to Fabletics. And that insane deal is only available for a limited time, so make sure to check it out now. Huge thank you to Fabletics for sponsoring today's video, but now let's get right back into it. Because if Trekkit makes its way into Mexico, it'll evolve into Globeral in its Mexico form, created by Tales of Poff 1. This form is based on a Jaguar warrior, the elite fighters of the Aztec Empire. And just like the Jaguar warriors, this dark fighting type is known for its extreme skill in battle and its intimidating outfit that includes the hide of one of the strongest Pokemon of all time. Can't get much scarier than that. Or maybe you can, as when it's exposed to Mexite, it'll evolve into Mega Globeral Imp, who's now clad in golden armor to reflect the Aztecs' use of golden jewelry and religious items. Mega Globeral now wields an even larger Makuhiti blade than before. And speaking of elite fighters, if Trekkit finds itself in Brazil, it'll evolve into a form of Globeral based on capoeira fighters, who use a unique mix of fighting, dancing, music, and acrobatics that's known for its constant movement and swinging footwork, a style that Mazan Fakemon reflected in this Pokemon, whose attacks flow with such pace and rhythm that most foes completely tire out before Globeral even breaks a sweat. And when exposed to a wishing star, you'll get its Gigantamax form, who combines its new humongous legs and vine belt to unleash kicks so powerful it might boot opponents from Brazil to the Philippines, which is actually where our next evolution comes from. Introducing Globeral's Philippines form, who Legends Kario's Pokemon outfitted with bladed fans, based on the fans used by Singkiel dancers who tell dramatic stories through epic and dangerous dance moves. However, its Gigantamax form takes on another interesting inspiration, Darna, the super-powered warrior woman who's the most iconic superhero in the Philippines. If Trekkit enters Costa Rica, it'll evolve into a grass ground type Globeral that's known as a guardian of nature, as it appears to radiate with an ecosystem restoring aura that causes all plants nearby to grow exponentially, which is how the artist Haru DNS wanted to reflect that despite being a small country, Costa Rica conserves about 6% of the entire world's biodiversity. And when exposed to Coastite, it'll evolve into Mega Globeral C, who's now booming with so much blooming energy, it can wrap opponents up in vines before causing a large tree to shoot out of the ground underneath them for a devastating attack. If Trekkit enters India, it'll become a psychic fighting type who's turned its stick into a sturdy spear. And to Poke Trainer VB gave a design based on a traditional traditional Indian dancer. And when exposed to Indite, it'll become Mega Globeral Eye, who channels its intense psychic spiritual energy into new limbs, which do its battling for it while the Pokemon itself sits behind and meditates. But if Trekkit enters the United States, it'll become a pure fighting type based on the over-the-top style and flair of a Hollywood movie star, even sporting large shades, stars and stripes, tassels, and spurs. And when exposed to Stadeite, it'll become Mega Globeral U, who now rides on a statue stunt double based on an Oscar, who Globeral can trade places with in battle if it ever decides it doesn't want to do its own stunts. If Trekkit finds itself in Colombia, it'll evolve into a beautiful flying fairy type, who has large wings and a crested head just like the condor, a bird that the artist Le Petit Art particularly likes, found across the Andes Mountains. However, its design only gets more vibrant with Mega Globeral C, who's adorned with the colors of the Colombian flag and is even based on this dress worn by Miss Colombia. When adventuring to Australia, Trekkit becomes a bug poison type. That's right, this Pokemon was crafted by Serial Bell to have an Australian cork hat made of spider web and patterns on its body resembling Aboriginal body paint. But its Gigantamax form is somehow even more unique, as it's a giant arachnid combined with the iconic Sydney Opera House. Trekkit trekking to the UK will become a fairy grass type who loves collecting wildflowers, with legends saying that after its evolution, this Pokemon will begin its journey of collecting a wildflower from every country in the UK and adorning them on top of its head for additional style. And its Gigantamax form gains a lot of room to fill with wildflowers, as it's now an extremely tall vine based on Jack and the Beanstalk. If Trekkit is in Italy, it'll become a water fighting type who the Pineo based on the story of Colapece, who is known for his ability to hold his breath underwater for crazy amounts of time, and who used this ability to discover that Sicily was held up by pillars, one of which was crumbling. So he decided to stay underwater forever to hold the pillar in place, which serves as the folktale explanation for Sicily's earthquake, as it's simply Colapece adjusting his grip. And its Gigantamax form now stands atop the pillar itself and draws back his coral spear with incredible might. If Trekkit explores Venezuela, it'll become a dark dragon type, a reference to the dancing devils of Yara, a festival where people dress as demons to celebrate triumph of good over evil. And for Mega Globeral V, the artist Scribblepod gave it an even more vicious and demonic look that's truly worthy of its powerful dragon typing. If Trekkit is in France, it becomes a psychic dark type, who's based on a French street performing mime and has hair and shoulders made out of delicious French bakery items. And the artist Pierre Ricachou took that theme even further with its Gigantamax form, which is based on the super iconic Eiffel Tower but made completely out of baguettes. If ever in South Africa, Trekkit will actually stay normal type, as it's now a very animalistic Pokemon that the artist based on the big 5 African animals, being the elephant, the lion, the buffalo, the rhino, and the leopard. With the lore being that by venturing across South Africa, Trekkit became good friends with the Poke equivalent of these animals and absorbed their skills. And it actually has a corrupted form that's sunk down to 4 legs, as it's now given in to the beast within. And it's even begun to form multiple cosmic eyes all over its body. If in Denmark, Trekkit becomes a psychic steel type, who the artist Lerka based on a series of Bronze Age helmets and carries a horn inspired by a bronze lure, which it uses to channel its psychic energy into a strange sound which disorients foes. And its Mega Evolution is able to produce waves of sound so mind-altering, it causes foes to walk unconsciously towards it before being bashed by its long Viking-inspired brain. If in Guatemala, Trekkit becomes a ghost fairy type, inspired by the Guatemalan Dance of the Deer, a folk dance where performers represent deer with costumes and masks. And while Cuckoo Art based the Pokemon stick off of a ritual baton, it also has a completely new mechanic called a Shadow Dance form, which causes its baton to break open, forming shadow clones of its pre-evolution Trekkit to appear all around it who join in on the dance. If in Canada, Trekkit becomes an Ice Fairy type snowman based on the Bonum Carnival, which the artist Ichi describes as basically Canada's Jack Frost, who shows up at the end of winter to be crowned king of festival and collects the key to the country. A key wielded as a weapon by its Mega Evolution, who now that winter has ended, preserves its body inside an extremely durable layer of coating, allowing it to survive until next winter despite being completely made out of snow. If in Indonesia, Trekkit transforms into a pure psychic type, who EJ monsters based on Wayang Kulit Truly, an Indonesian shadow puppet performance that, despite its intricacy, is usually performed by a single person. And Globeral's new shadow cast form reflects this, as it's now single-handedly controlling a giant shadow monster that it's cast out of its mind, transforming it into a ravenous psychic dark type. And if in Portugal, you'll get this mischievous and colorful dark type made by the Pedro, based on Karatosh masked festival figures who create controlled chaos with pranks and practical jokes. They even chase people around while in costume. And when exposed to a wishing star, you'll get this Gigantamax form that now has 3 giant expressive masks swirling around which would play their own sort of practical joke on the opponent, as their scary size and wild expressions would make the foe wonder what they're even looking at. Today's video was super fun, and I would love to do a part 2, but if it's gonna happen, I need your help. If you're an artist or you know someone who is an artist from any country not featured in this video, then please reach out to me on Instagram, because I would love to commission you to make an evolution for your country. It is seriously my dream to complete this project. I know some countries are gonna be impossible unless we convince the Pope to draw a Pokemon, but I guess never say never, so until then, peace.